If I'm not the one thing you can't stand to lose, if I'm not that arrow to the heart of you, if you don't get drunk on my kiss, if you think you can do better than this, then I guess we're done. Let's not drag this on. Consider me gone.
Reba McEntire doing "Consider Me Gone." It's Dan Radio Style. Boy, I tell you, I just ran into a few country songs today. Not normally my typical way I go about the music, but kind of chuckling because there are 4 songs that I actually kind of liked. They're speaking about the topics a little more, not necessarily how I'm feeling. I'm frustrated. I'm actually very happy right now in the big picture. But doing a show on frustration, obviously, a little bit of frustration. Sometimes these songs maybe have a little bit of emotional oomph to them, if you will. And I'm also chuckling at the whole thing with country music because the joke is, what do you get when you play country music backwards? You get your car back, you get your wife back, you get your dog back. Anyway, I think it's funny. Some people might not agree. Anyway, we're doing frustration. Goddard. I did some research and digging up some stuff and found a cool little snippet of his that I had to kind of chop a little, and it's still long. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm putting it over here. It's not there yet, but it will be somewhere like right around here. There's going to be a copy of this thing that I'm reading. So you can try to follow along with me, maybe make it easier, because I wanted to commit. And then I'm going to, speak about it here at the very end and try to keep this, reasonably short. We don't want this to bleed over real long. But hopefully this all works out. And then, of course, I got some really cool stuff that's going to be coming up for sure next week, because I'm going to have all sorts of techniques to share, because this is going to be a great week. Just cinched everything in today. Everything's dialed in. Stuff is set in motion. Where we're going's picked out. Almost got a time frame. It's all good. It's all good. I'm just stoked. I was floating everywhere I was walking today. I was like stepping on clouds. Good times. Anyway, frustration a la Goddard, right? I don't know why I'm making it sound sort of like French. Anywho, when you are sitting quietly with your thoughts, there is no man in the world so wise that he can look at you and tell you where you are mentally dwelling. I can stand here and place myself in London. Knowing London quite well, I can close my eyes and assume that I am actually standing in London. If I remain within this state long enough, I will be able to surround myself with the environment of London as though it were a solid, concrete, objective fact. Physically, I am still here, but mentally, I am thousands of miles away, and I have made elsewhere here. I do not go there as a spy. He gets into that more in the thing, but whatever. I mentally make elsewhere here and then now. You cannot see me dwelling there, so you think I have just gone to sleep and that I am still in this world, this three-dimensional world that is now San Francisco. As far as I am physically concerned, I am here, but no one can tell me where I am when I enter the moment of meditation. Where am I up here? You have within you the capacity to appropriate a state without knowing the means that will be employed to realize that end. And you should assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled without having any of the talents that men claim you must possess in order to do so. When you appropriate it in consciousness, you have employed the spy, and because you can embody the state within yourself by actually giving it to yourself, you are the harlot, for the harlot satisfies the men who seek her. You can satisfy self by appropriating the feeling that you are what you want to be. And this assumption, though false, that is, although reason and the senses deny it, if persisted, it will harden into fact. By actually embodying that which you have assumed you are, you have the capacity to become completely satisfied, unless it becomes a tangible, concrete reality. You will not be satisfied. You will be frustrated. It's the last paragraph that's key, so I'll probably leave it up, and I don't know. Yeah, it's probably just going to, rather than trying to zoom in on it or something crazy. You can satisfy yourself by appropriating the feeling that you are what you want to be, meaning you imagine yourself from that location, right? We all know the imaginal work. We all know Goddard from that standpoint. So we put ourselves out to that place. We imagine from that location, and we're appropriating the feeling, so we feel it, right? That we are what we want to be. So we're imagining it, and we do that because we know and believe that there's power in that imaginal process. And this assumption, though false, now the reason it's false is because, like many of us, our senses and our reason look around and go, but it's not here right now. So because of that, many of us who are looking for that tangible, that are looking for that concrete evidence, that are looking for proof, oftentimes don't realize that you're in process. As I've talked about on other shows, you're making steps towards this unfolding that's happening, this blooming of the flower that's before you. Another show I've done a bunch of shows on the aspects of how this can take some time to unfold. And so many of us expect to do the imaginal work and then immediately see some sort of physical proof that it's happened. And so by actually embodying that which you have assumed you are, which is looking at what is before us right now, that is assuming what you are, by actually embodying that which you have assumed you are. So when we're doing that, when we're looking at the right now, we're embodying that which we have assumed we are. We assume we are without that because we assume that the imaginal techniques did not work. We assume that something's broken. And of course, the big joke with assuming, right? Make an ass out of you and me. What he's talking about at the top is appropriating the feeling that you are what you want to be. And this assumption, it's an assumption as well. I'm either going to assume that I have it because it's in process, it's in the works, because I've done the work, I've done the effort to make it so. And then, of course, the infamous getting out of your way that I've done a bunch of shows. Anya's has done a bunch of shows. A lot of people have done a bunch of shows. And we'll keep doing a bunch of shows. It is tough. It is challenging. It's hard to wrap your head around. It's scary because for so many of us, the first time we get there is generally going to be out of frustration. Generally. Playing the numbers, a majority of people that finally get to that point of truly letting go and seeing what happens once you do, it is usually you get to that point where either A, you get numb, and it's just like, whatever, I don't even care anymore, right? So you either get to that point, I don't care anymore, or you get to the point where you're grumpy, frustrated at the person because they're not doing what we perceive they need to do in order to be with us in the time frame that we've decided they need to be with us. Instead of letting universe, right, provide, create, bring together, make these things happen. Who knows what further lessons, right? So many of us have talked about how we've picked up and learned on this process, how we've grown, how we've become so much more improved people, at least in our own viewpoints, right? Like I look at what I've gone through to get to my significant person. And I have grown as a man in so many different ways. And I am far better, in my opinion, than I was prior. And I was fine prior, right? I mean, we all are great where we're at. But ultimately, when we're looking at trying to get into relationships, trying to get into these partnerships to co-create together, well, you kind of got to bring your A game, right? You got to make sure all the pieces are in place. So, like many people, right? We're working on our own individual selves, but your significant person's maybe got some stuff they're working on too. So let the timing of it work out the way it's supposed to. Have the assumption that everything is in process. And realize when the frustration occurs, it's only because you're actually entertaining the false assumption that A, this stuff doesn't work, or B, you don't actually have this happening in process. It's not in progress. It's not currently happening. It's like you're staring at a false it's not a false positive. You're staring at evidence that doesn't exist yet, and saying that proves it's never going to happen. But that, in every form of logic, even not manifesting, like take it away from that. But to say, because of what I know right now, what I'm going to know in a week isn't true because it's not true right now, that's absurd. That's absurd. You're going to go to a dentist appointment in 3 weeks. You can say whatever you want about that dentist appointment right now. This is true about the dentist appointment. And then in 3 weeks, you're going to experience the dentist appointment. And whatever the heck you said 3 weeks ago doesn't matter. It's moot. It's ignored. Nothing that is in the future is happening right now. Well, is showing itself right now. See the coincidences as glimmers of what's coming, of dangling carrots just out of reach, but causing you to keep going. That's what they're meant to do. You see it in front of you, that coincidence that's so easy to dismiss. But you see it in front of you, and that is what you're reaching for. It's just a hair longer, one more step. It's just a hair out, one more step. And we eventually get to our destination. We eventually get to the place, the space and time where everything is congealed. It's moments away. However many moments, we'll find out. But it is moments away. And what's a moment anyway? Right? It's an experience. So it's many experiences from now. Keep seeing what's coming. Keep seeing the synchronicities, the coincidences, the oddities that pop up. And if you're getting to the point of frustration, embrace it. Feel that feeling. Let it be. Understand what it is. And if it is the cause of you finally letting go, as scary as that might seem, you'll be shocked at what happens. I mean, I think I got another example. There's so many examples of people that finally do it, and generally, like I said, out of frustration, very common, or just giving up. Those are kind of, in my mind, very similar, right? You're just like, forget it, whatever, I don't care. And in doing that, stuff happens. Stuff invariably happens quickly. You get like I'm not saying they like fall out of your chimney and land in your lap. It's not like that. But you'll get that random weird message that you're just like, why didn't I ever get this before? Like, you'll get things that are so cool, that are uniquely cool. How about that? So maybe you had coincidences that on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just like, right? Maybe you're having 2s, right? And then you give up, and then you have a 5. Like, it's significant typically. So however you get to this place, it's okay. That's part of the journey. Being frustrated is part of the journey. I would say probably most of us that have been in any sort of long-term manifestation process have been through frustration. That's good. It's like the stages. One of these days, maybe I'll try to write down like kind of logical steps that we typically go through, right? Everything starts off really good. I read Law of Attraction. Everything's amazing. I can have whatever I want. And then a year into it, you're like, wow, does this not work? This stuff doesn't seem to work. I'm not getting what I want. And then, eventually you get to other stages where you get what you want. So that's part of the process. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm trying to get you to understand what's happening, why it's happening, relative to Goddard. Here's why, and that thing was on the screen. Hopefully you've all read it. That's okay. So don't be angry at yourself for being frustrated. Don't feel defeated. Don't feel beat up. No, that's good. You're on track. Now, what are we going to do with this knowledge? Now, what are we going to do with this understanding? What are we going to do with the frustration? Certainly embrace it. See what you're frustrated about. Is this something that I really need to be frustrated about? Is this something that I maybe need to, talk to this person about? Is this something that I'm just being difficult on myself and not giving this a chance? Or is this maybe something that's so frustrating, regardless of everything I know, I don't care anymore, and I'm going to take a step the other direction. I don't really care. Whatever you do with the frustration is perfect. It's exactly the direction you need to go. I will say through a lot of these steps, you're going to have experiences that you've never had before. You're going to take steps onto uncertain ground. And you will be timid, shy, maybe scared from time to time. That's okay. Remember, this is part of the process. Stuff's in progress, it's happening, but we're all over the place because we're trying to figure this out. And we're making changes in our minds far quicker than universe is making changes, fortunately. So that's why you want to average in the direction, right? That's generally the good practice. Average. Make sure your averages are favoring the direction you're going, and then all the mess ups are fine. Like, I think Agnes is the one that said it, but I mean, I this is just math. But really, you ultimately want 50+%, 50.001% of your efforts in the direction you'd like it to be, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Again, it's okay. It's part of the process. Hopefully this helps. Frustration, Goddard style, right? Kind of his words, and I tried to find what book this was in, and I think I did, and I'm sorry. Maybe I'll dig it up when I upload, but it probably won't. Needless to say, at some point it'll come up. It is in the Complete Reader, which, by the way, I have a link below if you want to check it out. And I believe, there you go, there's an easy way if you really want to find out. I believe it's the first book in the Complete Reader, which I think is actually on the cover of the picture that's shown on Amazon. So, I don't know if that helps. Cool. If not, no worries. And yeah, so we came in with the song, got that covered, going out with a Taylor Swift song, but it's like a country version of a song. She's actually playing the banjo, which if any of you that have watched a lot of my stuff, I do mention how I'm fond of the banjo. So Taylor Swift won me over with her amazing. It wasn't really impressive how she was playing, but still, it's Taylor Swift. She's a cute girl playing a banjo. Can't go wrong there. And singing like a country song. Yo, okay. Taylor Swift, Mean. Stay on Radio Style.
And you don't know what you don't know. So